Hi, welcome to this session about managing your Azure workloads with Chef and PowerShell Desired State Configuration.
My name is Niklas Åkerlund, and I work as a chief technical architect at a Swedish company called Real Time Services. I'm also one of the PowerShell user group leaders in Sweden, and I am a cloud and data center management MVP.
My name is Fredrik Nilsson. I work for Crayon in Sweden. I am also a Microsoft certified trainer, and we are quite active in the social media, so our Twitter handles and blog information are displayed on the screen here. Every time, every time the Cloud Viking comes up, we will pause for questions. In 1908, Henry Ford, or the Ford company, launched the Ford Model T. And at the time of the launch, that car costed $950. In 1927, the Ford Model T costed only $250. Ford had an idea that everyone should afford a car. And society today is very much based on the fact that we all have cars and trucks and lorries for transportation. We in IT, we took another direction in lowering our costs. We started to outsource. The outsourcing companies started to offshoring. We can have opinions about that movement, but I think we all can agree upon the fact that it didn't really increase the speed of how we get things done. And where are we going with this, you might think?
IT delivery has not had its T-Ford moment. But we think that now is the time, thanks to automation solutions like Chef, Puppet, and others, for IT to go mainstream. Although we think that IT delivery has been done in the best ways, the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
But how do we solve this?
For the rest of this hour, we will show you a few ways to success. How many of you have heard the word or seen the word DevOps? Yeah, cool. Almost all, the entire room. DevOps is a model that focuses on building and managing IT in a rapid changing environment. The need for DevOps came from the fact that traditional IT wasn't really suited to adopt to the flexibility and speed that the cloud offers. The traditional IT were organized in silos. Those silos could be like delivery units, but they can also be silos between IT and the business. In the company, it could be purchases done without all the involving parties knowing about it. We have bought a financial system. Hey, that cloud thing seems like an interesting, our customers want it. So we bought a system, and on Monday, a team of consultants will come here and install it.
What?
What?
Are you crazy?
We have a lot of processes. Some of the processes are just general processes for the sake of a process. Sometimes changes happen in our environment that we didn't know about beforehand. We could even have a change process that is so tedious that we do like standard changes for everything we do. Because if we would be really accurate, the changes would never be approved.
Can you track all your changes? How many documented changes do you have in a month? Is it 25, 50, 100? Could you handle 100 or 200 per day?
1,000.
1,000?
Another challenge that we have is that we have a wide variety of tools. The developers have their tools, we got financial tools, we got a lot of tools. Besides all the tools, we have different routines as well. Developers, how many in the room? Do we have any developers in the room? Yeah, a couple. Pardon? Yeah, perhaps. But they have their routines. IT pros and the infrastructure guys have their routines. The financial parts have their routines. We need a common set of tools and routines. Initially, it seems like a pretty good idea to have those delivery units of specialists. But different groups of specialists needs to hand over to each other. For instance, we have one group that handles all the specification of requirements. We got another group that gets the specifications, installs the servers, and then hands them over to a third group that does the databases and networking and so on. Each handover causes a delay. Have you heard about the whispering game? You know, you sit in a room. We did it in preschool in Sweden. The teacher whispered a sentence to the first kid, and then we whispered all around in a circle. And the last one were to present to the others the sentence that the first one heard. In a book called Implementing Lean Software Development by Mary and Tom Poppendick, they discovered that in each handover, we lose 50% of the information. So after the second handover, only 25% of the knowledge remains, or is distorted. Knowledge loss affects the possibility for us to handle a flexible delivery of computing resources, or IT. One of the primary benefits of a DevOps mindset is to reduce the loss in both time and knowledge. Companies that have embraced DevOps use small groups that work together to create applications, install and manage the infrastructure for those applications. Working with all the aspects of a system eliminates handoffs. It's easier to come to a decision if all considerations are known by everybody. And quick decisions are synonymous with businesses that quickly adopts to changes.
And DevOps begins with automation and need infrastructure as code.
Oh, so we should stop this clicking around the menus now.
Yeah, exactly. When we install and configure our infrastructure as code, we use source control and can perform automatic tests and ensure that it is consistent and repeatable. The foundation of infrastructure as code in a Microsoft world is PowerShell.
PowerShell, yeah, I heard about that. I've been looking into it a bit, but well, I've been kind of busy, you know.
Yeah, the number of systems which each engineer is responsible for are increasing for each year. Then it's not so efficient to be managing and clicking around each individual separately.
A lot of clicking.
A lot of clicking. The GUI wasn't wrong in the Windows NT and 2000 era, but nowadays manual configuration is inefficient and doesn't scale, and few organizations can afford that. In today's fast-changing world, most of the configuration settings in modern edition of Windows Server can only be found in the shell.
So let's, you can show us. can't
Hey!
you?
If we, let's see. Woohoo! Oh my God, what an ugly picture.
you look happy though.
I'm happy.
How happy were you?
Happy warrior. Everyone in here have a GitHub account?
We can rephrase that. Is anybody new to GitHub, to the concept of GitHub? Yeah, a couple. Yeah, cool.
So it's a source control system based on Git. So you could either, if you have a development team that use TFS, or use Git. Probably if you have a team that have like Linux developers, they have used Git forever. But we as a IT pro,
or me as a Windows guy hasn't.
Windows guys and IT pros and stuff have not used it so much. But the main part here is to share and keep your scripts and stuff versionable and in a repository.
Yeah. The good thing to have it, instead of sharing them in a delivery team on a network share, you get them versionable. So you get like the first version, the second version, and if I do something to Niklas scripts, he will be notified what I changed, and we can merge those into one to a better script, for instance.
And then you think, oh my God, will I share this with the whole world and stuff? In my company, we have created a private GitHub repository. That means that we as a company and organization, we can share those scripts on GitHub if we don't have our own Git solution in our company. So this is a fairly easy way of getting your scripts into a repository where you can share and collaborate on those things. So we share those, and no one that's not part of our organization can use and access those. Just going into some easy PowerShell stuff, you know, probably most of you have been either forced into it or
like me, kind of busy.
Been kind of busy and moving along with the wagon. You have like commands, and we can add and remove Windows roles. Can check that we have a Windows feature, like see that it's installed. If it wouldn't have been installed, we could add it. In this case, we will not add it because it's already added.
Yeah, but that's great.
Yeah.
But well, I got like 200 web servers, and sometimes, well, things happen to those. They are in projects, you got consultants coming in, you got developers doing things, and they change, and my boss nags me, I need to have my service compliant. How does PowerShell help me to do that?
That's where the PowerShell Desired State Configuration comes into hand. And that's a way of having a configuration that we can set and just showing the most simple desired state configuration, showing basically the same stuff as before, but in this case we can, as Fredrik has his 100 web servers, we can configure it with all those settings that we want, and we can push it out on all those servers, and also make sure that these settings will reside. Yeah,
so if somebody has made a change, they will be reverted then into the things that I have stated.
It can be, or it can just report that. You can. Yeah.
Cool. Looks like somebody had a plan with all this.
Yeah.
We need to
change back to the. In 2002, a guy named Jeffrey Snoover wrote the Monad Manifesto. Have anyone read the Monad Manifesto? A few of you have read it. That's the working name for PowerShell. And he started in 2002 writing about how he wanted that automation solution to be. And now, 14 years later, we have actually most of the Monad Manifesto implemented in the Windows Management Framework 5 and the PowerShell 5.
Yeah, the modules has actually exploded. You get a lot of changes all the time to PowerShell. But that's pretty smart. Because if we have all these and all these modules, then I can fix things really fast in the background. That will be come in real handy when things starts to fall into pieces.
Exactly. But as Chef Gordon Ramsay says, when you cook under pressure, you trade perfection. And to avoid chaos in the kitchen, you need a chef.
Has anybody heard about the chef? Yeah, almost the entire room. Cool. Chef is an automation platform that configures and manages your infrastructure. The key thing to Chef's strength is that it turns your infrastructure into code. In this way, we make it versionable, testable, and repeatable. Chef consists of several parts. First, we have this, the central part, that's the Chef server. This is the place where we store our cookbooks. This is also the place where we access the console of the Chef server. We have something called nodes. Nodes are installed on every managed device. Could be a virtual server, a physical server, it could be some network equipment or something. Those nodes pull data from the, or configuration pulls information from the Chef server. Then we got something called Chef Workstation. This is where we have the knife, and every chef needs a knife. This is the place where we develop our cookbooks and recipes. And finally, we have the analytics part. The analytics gives us real-time visibility into what happens in our environment. Who made the change? When did it happen? And what was changed? It also provides a real-time visibility in a sense that we can, I lost the word now, that we can verify compliance, or even check onto internal checkpoints. Like I said with my web service, I know that something has happened. I don't want local administrators on my web servers or something like that. The Chef service is based on the resources. A resources is a component or a part of a system and its desired state. The resources are collected into something called recipes. Think of it like a cookbook at home in your kitchen. You might have several cookbooks that there are collections of several different recipes. You could have like a cookbook for meat and fish, something like that. We have roles. Roles could be roles could be a system, and they consist of a collection of cookbooks. Could be a 3-tier application, for instance. We got something called environments. Environments could be your development, test, Q&A. It could also be the northern part of the country, the southern part, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, anything that you need to separate. And finally, we have something called data bags. And data bags are global variables that we can use in Chef. So let's have a look at it.
Yay!
So we switch again to. Yeah, this is the new Azure portal. And in the new Azure portal, we have something called the marketplace. In the marketplace, you have software companies that provide a quick way of deploying different sets of software. And we have something, we see here, we have like a SQL data warehouse, we got something from Kemp, but we also got the ability to install a Chef server.
There are different ways of utilizing. Either you can deploy a Chef server in Azure, or you can deploy it on-premise, or you could use the managed Chef.
Yeah. We can look at the managed Chef.
So, manage.chef.io will lead me to their page where I would log on. And here I can see all the nodes that I have in my kind of small demo environment, but still. So I have the nodes where I have, as Fredrik were describing, with the Chef client on them, and how they have reported and what kind of information they have. Because the Chef client also includes the OHI. That's an inventory plugin that works. And every time when it's reporting into the Chef server, it will show its information. For instance, if we go into one of these, we can see attributes, and looking into those, you can see all the information. For instance, I'm interested in showing and getting to know what kind of servers that, what version of PowerShell they have. So here you can see that on that particular server, OHI have reported in that it's the version of Windows Management Framework is version 4.
Yeah, you could also add this into your CMDB to have control. Let Chef like inventory your system and add that into your CMDB, so you know what kind of software are installed on which kind of server and stuff like that. We can also look at the run books and the run list that I mentioned before.
Okay, you mean on the nodes, sorry.
Yeah.
So we take one, for instance, and I will So we have, we could add tags and we can add environments, like Fredrik was describing. We have production or we have test, and we can. So that was said the state of that particular client into what environment it should be part of. Yeah. And also run list, here we can, from the GUI side, add available roles, and the roles could exist, could have attributes and cookbooks and stuff in them, or we could just add an available recipe that we would like put on this node.
Yeah, use drag and drop as well.
So I will have save return list, and if we want to like create either a new node or we create a new cookbook and the stuff, we can go in here and see roles, data bags, environments, clients. If I, for instance, go in to create a client here, we could name it NIC all Oslo. Great client. And here we have the private key that we need for the interaction between the client and the Chef server. Because if we don't have any relationship, the Chef client can't authorize it to be part of my managed Chef.
As you remember, the node pulls data from the Chef server. So it needs to verify itself against the server. And this is the verification. So I can't take my nodes and connect it to Niklas' Chef server. I need to have this private information to be able to access the correct environment or the correct install of Chef.
And moving over to the command line interface would be the Chef knife, where we can do stuff with the knife. If you just, we have all kind of more deep commands to do stuff with the Chef client. So we can add nodes, we can add run list, we can create cookbooks, we can download cookbooks from a marketplace that Chef has, or from a marketplace that you have in your own organization. I think we should move on, or?
Yeah. So I can take the cord. We will. That's interesting. Questions? How does PowerShell and DSC, or Desired State Configuration, come into all of this then?
That's a good question. Do we need both? Or can we use just one of them?
Of course we do.
We need both, of course. So what does Chef bring to this table? It brings an extended framework besides the one you have if you have implemented the PowerShell Desired State Configuration. And why we would like to use PowerShell Desired State Configuration along with the Chef is that it provides the path into the Windows world.
We can, from the Chef part, leverage on all the development that is done into PowerShell and just use that. Send commands to the Desired State Configuration, do whatever you need to do on the server to make it compliant. Instead of building all those settings ourselves in our cookbooks, we can just call on those resources. For instance, fixing my web servers. I will repeat that again. We will get the visibility. The strength of Chef is to give the visibility of our environment. It is not just Windows servers, it's Linux servers, it's UX. What changed, by whom, and when, and the compliancy part. Because that is a pain when we need to do like all the SOX compliance stuff or government compliance. It is European Union regulatory things. That is an extra work. We have that all that information, so we can lower the effort in those compliance checks. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
Again.
Again, we move over to
GGG. We will wear out that contact.
Anyone have any copper or gold, please? Okay. And we have okay, as you can see and maybe notice, I'm using a Mac. And I'm also using the Visual Studio Code. Have everyone tried out the Visual Studio Code?
Or has anybody not tried it? Is it new too? Yeah? A couple?
It's new.
Yeah, cool.
The cool part here is that with the Visual Studio Code, you can download extensions for Chef, you can download extensions for PowerShell, and thus get highlighting of the different commands.
Yeah. And it's not Visual Studio, so it's not that full-blown, a lot of gigabytes install. It's a lightweight, and it's fairly easy for me as an IT professional to learn how to use it, because I get this color syntax, so I can see and edit text.
And once you created a cookbook, you will get a number of folders and files. And that's the nice part with this one, that you can actually, if we go out of a closed folder, instead of just opening one file each time, you will like maybe miss something and, oh my God, I don't know where I was. So, for instance, I will open that one again, and then you will see the different files, and I will like
hang on, Niklas.
zoom on.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
There. You see here on the left-hand side, you see the recipes. You see all the things that I mentioned before. They are in there, and we can add information to that. We can reuse our resources for in multiple cookbooks. Like in the kitchen, we have like a saucepan, and we can use that saucepan for a lot of recipes. We don't have to have a unique one for every single thing that we need to do.
So how do we fit this PowerShell DC thingy into this then?
Yeah.
The thing is that Chef has been working together with Microsoft and developing to get this into, the PowerShell Desired State into this. And there is two different ways of using those resources in Runbook and in Chef. So one is the DSC script resource, and the other one is the DSC resource. So that's basically two different ways of interpreting and calling for DSC resources. Just in this case, we will show how you use it with the DSC resource, and that works with the Windows Management Framework 5 and PowerShell 5. And that is something that will probably, hopefully, be will be launched again. They actually relaunched the general availability of Windows Management Framework 5 was removed because of a bug that they found. So first they released it and then they removed it. So, but the production preview works. And with the production preview, we also have something that we have to set up the local configuration manager and set the refresh mode to disable to have that function of using the DSC resource for pushing our DSC configuration on those nodes. So that's something that I use here to set up that. And we also have another way of, another thing I have added is like, if you don't have that particular resource that you're going to use, there are like a zillion of either Microsoft or community-based PowerShell Desired State resources that you can utilize. They are also on GitHub, of course.
Yes.
But they are also part of the PowerShell gallery. And if you would use the install module, it will go out and search the PowerShell gallery, and you can install that from there. So then I will just check if I have it, then I won't do anything. If I don't have it, I will install it. And if I look at, this is just including in one of my recipes, those other recipes I need to create this fantastic dinner.
Yeah.
And you have the DSC resource, and we call for the Windows feature in this case. I'm not elaborating on that particular X web administration, that would be a more advanced example, but you would get the point that I would add it. I can show you this one that I have added an external resource. So in this case, I would go out on my servers and check and set the right DNS server settings. And here I add a resource that's not part of the foundational desired state resources. And we're going back to this. So this will just check, and then we'll check that it started, and it will put a web page on our server. So I would upload this one. I would add a version 6. And of course, as you can see up here, it says what files that I haven't saved right now. And if I go back to the
knife, to the chef knife.
Yeah, knife, cookbook, upload, NIC.
So what it does now, you remember when in the graphical interface we got a lot of cookbooks? But he's uploading that cookbook to that place at the moment.
I can either from here or from the web page, I can go in and like on the particular server, if we go back to the nodes, and I go into like, this is my server I want to configure. And on that run list, I would like now to add that. And we have that one. As you remember, it has included those other dependencies. And now I added that. And I will go into that particular server.
And just to stress out, because it will eventually pull information from the chef server. But if we restart that service, it will make the pull request right away. Or else we would have to wait here for like 15 minutes or something.
So now the tedious part of the chef client will talk to the chef server, and we will get that configuration, hopefully. So it's a bit slow. This is my kind of my own Azure subscription. So I'm kind of
running out of credits.
And having a kind of small VMs in this case. So it's like basic, the lowest version of basic. So it's no SSD stuff and stuffy. So now you can see that it's checking. It has got the NIC IS Cookbook 026. That's our version.
Yeah, what happens on the server at the moment when it gets the cookbook?
When it gets the cookbook, it just stores it in the cache folder, and then it will run this and set those settings that I have asked for. So now it's running and setting everything up and checking that if I have changed something on the files or something, that it will update that, of course.
Ooh, ooh. I think it's really funny. Ooh, ooh.
Da, da, da. I should have shown also that I didn't have the web server installed and stuff.
But it wasn't installed. Trust us. Any questions? Yeah?
Is the Chef agent a VM extension in Azure?
Yes, the question was that, is the Chef client an extension in Azure? Yes, it is.
You have an extension, and you can either bootstrap a node, if it is in your data center or whatever, but Microsoft has extensions, and you have a Chef extension that you can bootstrap from the Azure side. Yeah.
You can even go in the classic portal, you can go in and add and remove it. In the Azure portal, you can't. You can remove it, but you can't from the GUI add it. Then you need to have like a command line interface. Yeah, with the deployment template. It's a good question because I'm going to plug our next session in about an hour, and we're going to talk about that. Azure Resource Manager and Chef. So we're going to talk a bit more about extensions and the challenges between what we need to do. Because basically I'm an IT pro and I'm a lazy guy. I don't want to do unnecessary things. I want it automated.
Damn. This takes forever. Ooh! And here you see, ooh! Oh, I haven't updated the HTML file, so this was, I don't think we should open the web browser.
We can do it.
We can do it.
You can do it.
Okay, I can do it. This will probably look like, I'm no web developer, so if there are any in the room, I would advise you to look away. Ooh.
Whoa.
Why it says like a ton of code and it says hello Sweden?
Yeah.
That's wrong. It says hello Sweden. We should say hello Norway maybe. Then we would have to go back here. I'm like, I don't think we have time for this. But
Yeah, we have.
Wait. And we save it. And we don't forget what.
And what it does now is that when we launched our web, we realized we had some problems with this. Instead of doing all the other things, we change and we add an iteration to our cookbook, and we correct that and upload it, and the node will pull the data from the Chef server and apply that change. Of course, we have tested this in our test environment and stuff like that before, so we are sure that this time it will be correct.
Should be said also that if you have strong eyes and not, what you say, like Fredrik, bad sight or what?
Yeah, bad sight. I'm about
you
to go to
see here
the
that
operation.
I have a Git integration with the Visual Studio Code. So now I have updated files and I can commit those. And here we can see I can update that and fixed.
And by
way. And then and now I commit it on my local server and I would like to add it to our GitHub. Then I could push this up to our GitHub repository. So if you would search the NICconf on GitHub, you would find that I have updated Hello Norway. And I would also need to update this on the Chef server so the client on the other side can run this now. And it would go much faster because I don't have to update web servers and muffle.
Yeah. Well, a good thing also, when Niklas now uploads the edited web, me, in my development team, we use Git to download that and create the next iteration. We need some pictures and some blinky stuff and some discounts and things. And we can do that. And in the same process, then we will deploy it into our production. In our next session, we will talk about the automation of tests to have it. The dream scenario is like reading comic books or playing games, and everything just works. And we are just employed just in case something happens. Then we can dig in. That is sort of like the nirvana.
And you see that my check for DC resource has run false. It will not run that, and everything else would also hopefully go a bit faster this time.
Yeah. While we wait, any other questions or thoughts? Yes?
How would you use this in an existing environment where you have, say, 1,000 unique servers? How would you launch
That is a good question. The question was that, how do you use Chef if you have like 1,000 servers that are individual? How do you start implementing Chef or using or utilizing Chef? That is an awesome question. And I actually, if you just bear with me for like a couple of minutes, I have the answer for you in my next slide.
I will change back to the sliding.
So to wrap things up, and to answer your question, we might not start with all those 1,000 servers. If you want this DevOps mindset, we take something smaller, something that we can do in like 8 weeks. We can manage those servers in 8 weeks. Each week, we report on our progress. We stand up for each other in a conference room and say, this week we did this, this, and this, and this. And after 8 weeks, we are done. It shouldn't be larger than that. If we don't have time to report every Friday, for instance, we are working in the wrong way, and we need to just stop what we're doing and reconsider how we get things done, because then we are not working in that integrated, fast DevOps way. We will get into problems. We will have issues. Things will happen. But that's good, because we are changing things so fast that we are learning for every mistake, every code that we did wrong. We learn how to be better and better every time, and better and faster every time.
You know that like Facebook and Amazon, they have more than thousands of changes each day.
Yeah. We have sort of gathered a few resources that will help you sort of get started. Also on the expo floor, we haven't had time to find the guys yet. Chef has a booth. You can go there and talk to them as well. And they are, I promise you, they are more than willing to answer your questions and help you out. As I mentioned before, in an hour or so after lunch, we have another session that is a bit, we will go into a bit more detail about Chef and Azure Resource Manager. And we would also like to call out a few other sessions that we think are really interesting and good in this DevOps mindset. The Azure Automation and Management Solutions for all clouds, also in this room. Using Ansible with Windows Configuration Management. Ansible is another tool for doing this DevOps thing. And also remote management of Nano Server. And a friend of ours wanted us to call out this. He is doing a what's it called? I lost the word. Fundraising, yeah, for the kids in Syria. You have that code that you can use on your cell phones. The grand prize is an Amazon Kindle Voyage. Thank you. We will update information on our blogs and so on, of course.
Where you can find the slide deck and other content.
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy your lunch.
Yeah.
And we will stay here and
yeah.
continue preparing for our next session.
Any questions now for before you go for lunch, or ideas or things that popped up? We will be around here today, the entire evening. We will have a few beverages as well, of course, and tomorrow as well. Yes?
How do you report and detect configuration drifts?
That's part of the policy and compliance part of Chef. So that's
The question was that how do we handle configuration drift?
how do we handle? Okay.
Report. How do we report
Yeah,
on
and then you have
configuration drift?
that and can instantly, for instance, if you're finance or in pharmaceutical and you will get an audit and you have like FDA or someone coming in and saying, oh, we need to check all your system, we need to check that they are compliant with what you have said that they have in the configuration and in their like setup. Oh, come here, dear friend, and check out our compliance view here. Then you can see all that in real time what the state are on your environment. Would that be like an answer?
Yeah.
So there's an open source Chef server and there's a paid version, and the paid version will give you support and those extra features. So I would recommend, if you're interested in the more of the extra functionality of Chef, then go talk to those guys and get a price and get an understanding of how it works and with the whole Chef delivery thinking of deployment and managing stuff. Great.
Cool.
Let's have some lunch.
Yeah. Thank you.